And we're live. Welcome everybody to another episode of Streaming and Chatting with Ryan Kittleson. So glad to be back again. I hope everybody's weekend was good. Oh, hey Golu. How much time it takes to learn ZBrush? Well, it's going to take the rest of your life, really, and there's always new things to learn. All right, we're going to jump right back into this creature character thing that I started last week. Let's take a look at it again here. So this is some original art by one of my favorite artists named Jim Woodring. He does graphic novels, he does paintings, drawings, etc. And this is a beautiful, weird piece that I'm going to turn into a vinyl toy. So last week I got started in on it, and definitely some more tweaking to do, some more arranging and refining, but getting the basic shapes in here. If you want to find the original artwork that I'm working on, you can just do a Google image search for Jim Woodring Worse and Worse. Actually, I'll just type it in here. So if you search that up, then you can find the original artwork that I'm basing this on. So as you can see, there's still lots to be done. Today I'm going to start making this tail thing, and we'll see how far I get on that. I'll probably finish the tail thing, no problem, today. And then I'll go into refining more on the body. And so we got a question to learn the basic. How much time is required? I think if you really focus and get the basics done, you could probably start making decent stuff in, a couple months. All right, so let's just start jumping in here. All right, so today I want to work on this tail thing. And so I'm just going to kind of talk out loud about how I go about making this in ZBrush. So, it looks like it's kind of like this, like a long, it would be kind of an extrusion, or maybe starting from a sphere or a cylinder, right? And it's, what I want to do is I want to make it just straight down, and then once I've got it built, then I'll use a bend curve deformer, and I'm just going to, then I'll like twist that and turn it into this shape. And then also you can see that it's kind of got this basic shape, but then also on the surface of it, there are these black lines that run down the shape of it, right? And they all kind of meet up at the top. So I'm going to start making this from a sphere, and then we'll extend that sphere down longer, and then we'll extract these black surface things, these surface details from that. All right, let's go ahead and start in on it. So for making this sphere, I want to try to do it intelligently rather than just forging ahead and then having to change my mind later. So I want to count how many there are. So it looks like there's probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. So I want to make the sphere a multiple of 8 rows of polygons. And it looks like the ratio of thickness is about 1 to 5, maybe 1 to 4. I'll go with 1 to 4 just to make it a little easier. So actually we're going to do 1 plus 4, 5 times 8 is 40. So I'm going to make a sphere with 40 spans, and then that'll give us the perfect geometry to extract these separate objects from. All right, so I'm going to just jump in here, and we'll just create a sphere. And I'm just going to click on this gizmo thing, and we're just going to make a sphere 3D. And let's make sure we've got 40 spans around. Okay, and then we'll just adjust this to be something roughly squarish. Okay, looks good. Let's get back into regular gizmo mode. And just make sure this is centered in the world. And let's try to make sure this is the right size here. We can always change the size later, but something like that's pretty close. You notice actually the sculpting of this character is not centered with the world, so at some point I'll have to adjust that to make it centered. But we can ignore that for right now. So it looks like there's a question from Atif Iqbal. How you learn ZBrush 3 or ZBrush 3? Oh, question mark. The way I learned ZBrush is I just jumped in and started messing around with it. And it's definitely one way to learn. It's not a bad way to learn it. All right, so I know I want 8 of these things going around, so I'm going to turn on radial symmetry, and let's see here. How do you go about recentering multi-subtools to world axis? This is a question from Justin Case. So yeah, this is a good question, actually. Let me discuss that, because actually this is something I need to do anyway. So let me just go ahead and do that. I'm going to hide this tail thing that I'm making. So all of these various subtools, you can see they're actually off center from the world. I have this grid thing with a custom grid on it, so we can really see that. And so what I want to do is actually have this centered. So what we can do with subtools in general, if you have them selected. So let's say we've got this this little object right here selected, right? You click on the home and it sends it right to the center of the world. However, if you've got multiple objects selected, right, with the multi-move, and then you use that, it's just going to send that one. It's not going to send all of them. So you kind of have to do it more manually. So with all of them selected together, using this transpose all selected subtools, what we can do is we can actually move this. Now, what this is going to do is actually cause a little bit of a problem, because of the way these heads are actually Arraymesh objects, and so moving one of them is actually going to cause them to separate out like that. So what I want to do is I'll just adjust the Arraymesh properties after moving it. But what I want to do is I want to have this point where they all meet be the new center point. So I'm going to move my gizmo to that place, and then I can move them all and move it to that center. That gizmo is right in the center of the world. And then I can just go and change my Arraymesh so that these other heads come in a little closer. So let's just go to Arraymesh. And let me show you my interface here. So we've got Arraymesh, and let's see, it looks like we need to move the pivot point so it's not so far out. And that'll just bring these guys back in here. All right, now it's all centered with the world. How come my UI is so insane? How do you have that custom world background with walls? So the custom background is part of Ryan's tools. I actually just updated Ryan's tools to 2.1 over the weekend or last week, I think Friday or something. So yeah, go find that. I'm actually going to put a link here in the chat. Question, I work with graphics tablet, not with a mouse. If you want a course, I see a course starting with the basics of ZBrush. I would recommend my course on lynda.com or LinkedIn Learning. Search Ryan Kittleson on lynda.com or LinkedIn Learning, and you'll find my introduction to ZBrush course. How do you create your own gizmo? There are some tutorials on that. You can just find them on YouTube. They show you how to make your own gizmo. Hey, Slay Shadow, good to see you here. Things are going good. Hey, better late than never. We're just keeping going here with this this creature cartoony character thingy. All right, so let's get back to that tail thing that I was making. So the question, am I going to take this into another render engine or just render from ZBrush to Photoshop? So the goal of this project, I wasn't thinking too much about doing much in the way of rendering, but probably what I'll do is just send it to just Keyshot quickly in the end, just to do something quick and dirty with the rendering. Most of the work I do for my professional work doesn't really get rendered, or at least I don't do the rendering of it. Maybe somebody else does. But typically I just do a quick and dirty rendering in Keyshot. Most of the stuff I do ends up getting 3D printed. So rendering isn't so much of a priority for what I'm doing, but I can definitely play around with some Keyshot stuff. Yes, yeah, I just since the last stream I did, I upgraded to gigabit fiber internet, and so I'm streaming at full HD 1080p. As previously, I was streaming at 720p resolution. So yeah, definitely should be moving much more smoothly now. All right, so now I've got some of the shapes in place here. Let's just keep refining this. I'm going to need some more edge loop spans in here. Let's insert some multiple edge loops. Let's keep them the same. Keep the polygroups that we have. One of the things I don't like about the Z-modeler brush is it can be hard to click exactly on edges. So I'm just going to try to, there we go. Okay, so it looks like the geometry between these black lines kind of bulges out a little bit. So I'm gonna just isolate that a little bit and kind of puff that out a bit. All right, so now I want to extract out those black lines as a separate object. So I'm just going to duplicate this whole thing. And let's extrude this out. Okay, that looks pretty close to what I want. There is something slightly weird, however, about the geometry right here. Just the way we're creating, the way these edges are coming together, it creates a little weird pinch right here. So I'm going to try to modify the topology of this. Actually, let's try to do it before. Let's see, let's do thickness, dynamic thickness, so we can get a nice preview of what that is going to look like as we're working on it. Just removing this center point here from this curve so that it rounds out a bit more nicely. I do have a vertical monitor, Shikaka. Yeah, on the side, on my left side, I've got a vertical monitor, and so actually that's where I extend my ZBrush window out onto 3 different monitors actually. So my work is in my main monitor, and then my UI mostly is on the lower monitor, and then on the left I've got the tool palette on the left monitor. This is weird. I'm trying to inset just this one polygroup. Oh, actually, I think I know what the problem is. Yeah. The polygroup was set as a temporary polygroup. So I just had to make sure it had a unique color. Has anybody ever told me that I sound kind of like Jeff Goldblum? No, but that is one of the nicest things anybody has ever said to me. Dig up dinosaur bones. Dinosaurs. That's great, thank you. I'm just going to redirect some of this geometry. I don't quite like exactly where this is going. The nuclear reactor ZBrush custom layouts. Oh man, that is so true. What is going on here, ZBrush? I'm trying to delete this edge and it's deleting polygons instead. Oh, that's unfortunate. I'm using radial symmetry, but it's not cutting that edge with the radial symmetry, so it sounds like it's going to be a pain in my butt to go through and do all those manually, and I don't really need to do it manually anyway. I'll just accept it as it is. It's actually pretty nice as it is anyway. So I split the polygon with Z modeler brush, and then you can go to different slice mesh or slice edge mode. But I'm not going to use it for this one because it wasn't behaving nicely. So I'm just going to accept it as it is. It looks pretty good. It looks nice and smooth enough. Okay, so now that we've got this shape in place, I'm going to combine these two into one. Hey Monish, Lee Gibbons, do I use polymodel for everything? No, sometimes I use Dynamesh, sometimes I use whatever. I use whatever is the best tool for the job, or at least whatever is the most fun tool for the job. All right, so now that I've got this tail thing straight down, what I'm going to do is take a deformer and sort of twist this around into roughly this shape here. So for this, we're going to use bend curve. And of course, you get this lovely cone-based interface. They actually took one of my suggestions. 99.9% of the time, anytime you're using this curve deformer, you're going to want the curve to go along the longest axis of your object. And that wasn't previously the case, and I suggested to Pixologic that they fix that, and they did. So go Pixologic. All right, so it's going to get a bit of resolution here, and then once I've made some changes, I'll add some more resolution, but I just want to get like the end points in place. I'm looking at my reference image in a different monitor, so it might look a little weird what I'm doing right here initially, but just want to get kind of the basic placement of everything. I think I'll start with more resolution. Hey Uzaris, doing good, thanks. How are you doing? And here we're seeing some of the things that are tricky about this deformer. Sometimes as you move things, they get kind of twisted out of shape. So you have to be a little bit careful with it. So hopefully we'll be able to get this shape without too much drama. It can be a bit of a back and forth process. Hopefully I don't get too tied up in knots, literally, working on this. Hey, Sedicus. Hey, glad you're enjoying the new 2.1 features of Ryan's tools. Anything your favorite? The old easy primitive. Yeah, part of Ryan's tools. You want to? I'll just demonstrate quickly. If you've got, you want to put a sphere somewhere, just mask where you want to put that. Click on an easy primitive. And actually, it's not working like it's supposed to because the object I was placing it on is an Arraymesh, and so that actually just changes it. But usually I'm not placing it onto an Arraymesh, so usually it's not an issue. So I was hoping that this bend curve deformer would be the solution I want. However, yeah, as you can see, it gets really finicky really fast. It doesn't really like to play nice if you do anything beyond like some really simple basic bending. And there's some twist, options you can use to try to like unscrew up what it does, but it's squirrely at best. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to like undo this, and I'm just going to like bend this manually like I usually end up doing most things in ZBrush anyway, because a lot of the fancy gadgets and gizmos don't actually do what you want them to do a lot of the time. And what I'm going to do to actually make this easier, I'm just going to delete this part of it. And then I'll just extract it from this after I've curved it. Or actually, you know what? I'm looking at this, and creating, like bending this manually is going to be a real pain. So I'm going to actually totally start this over, this tail, and I'm going to try a different approach. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually establish the shape of the curve I want first, and then I'm going to ZRemesh it. I'm going to ZRemesh it to the right number of edge loops, and then from that, then I'll extract these curves. Hopefully that'll work, and hopefully when I go to ZRemesh it, it'll do it and give me a nice even topology. So crossing our fingers and praying. Yes, the creative process. You have no idea. I mean, this is what, like, every ZBrush artist, every digital artist I know, has to restart something 3 times to find the way that's actually going to result in a good product in the end. You love me for my mind, but it's my UI. All right, I'm hiding my UI, you guys. My work is up here. All right, so I've got it positioned so the scale is pretty close. And then I'm going to use this curve multi-tube. So Mick Bobble has asked, can you move the UI tools over to a second screen? Yeah, absolutely. Just take your ZBrush window and like grab the edges of it and pull it out into whatever second or third monitors you got. That's what I do. Yeah, I could make this with Z-spheres, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this curve multi-tube. Facebook, Instagram, and What's Out all out because of a technical fault worldwide. Oh, wow. That's good to know. So I would love to share my ZBrush custom interface. However, it's very specific to my monitor. So a custom user interface in ZBrush only works good if everybody who's using it has the exact same macros, brushes, plugins, etc. that I'm using, and same screen resolution, same button size configuration. So it actually becomes really difficult to make a interface that is translatable to everybody's monitors. So for that reason, I don't give out my user interface. It just wouldn't be that useful anyway. My size my computer monitor is, well, I've got my laptop, it's a 17-inch screen, and then I've got my main screen is I think a 21-inch, and then my vertical monitor on the left is a 17-inch, I think. I've been sculpting in ZBrush since 2006. And I mean, the amount of time it takes to become proficient, it really depends on, you know, how much effort you put into it, how devoted you are to it, etc., etc. But if you really focus, it could be a few months. If you kind of take it casually, it could take a few years. Yeah, the background, it's a thing called Holodeck. It's part of Ryan's tools. So if you go to Gumroad and get my plugin Ryan's tools, you can have access to this background. So it's kind of like this box. It helps me stay oriented in 3D space. A lot of times you're working on something that doesn't necessarily have an obvious front or back or left, right, or top or bottom, and you can sometimes become disoriented in where you are. So with this, it's kind of makes it easier to see, like, oh, there's a shadow, so that's the bottom. There's a light, that's the top. And then the grid is colored. So the blue is the back wall and the red is the front wall. And then you can see, like, from the side, it fades from red to blue. So I know always where I am in 3D space. Okay, so I got it positioned for the most part where I want it to be. I'm going to do a couple tricks here to make this all nice and neat. So I'm going to use this smooth all. And so what this is going to do, it's going to eradicate any sort of variations in thickness that I created while I was deforming the shape of it. And then I can inflate it from here. So that eradicated any variations in thickness that happened as a result of shaping it. Hey, Nova Arista. Monish Ayan, how much salary am I getting now? I mean, I have full-time work doing ZBrush. It's not bad. Can't complain. Hey El Barocco, thanks for subscribing to my YouTube channel. Thanks, Uzaris. Always nice to hear compliments about my gizmo. Oh yeah, so there's a question. Am I going to be able to like inflate and resize the shape of this tail so that like it's thicker at the beginning, thinner at the end? Absolutely. Yep. So I think what I want to do is get the shape of the twist and turn of it correct. And then once that's in place, it'll be easier to inflate it and shape it and add these black ridge things. So yeah, I experimented earlier with doing the black ring or black ridges first and then trying to shape it, and was just having too much trouble with the bend curve deformer. Felipe Farias, yes. This is the Move Topological brush that I'm using, so I can grab parts of this curve without affecting the parts of the curve that are farther away from it, or not affecting it too much anyway. It still does grab it a little bit, but and it's kind of deforming it in a way I don't necessarily like. But once I've got the position of it all where I like it, then there's some tricks I can do to even out that any sort of like deformation that happened to it. I use lots of stock brushes and custom brushes, Uzaris. Actually, if you buy the pro version of Ryan's Tools, you'll get a lot of my custom brushes as a bonus. Dark Knight asks, what company do I work for? So I work for this company called Uniqueboard, uniqueboard.com, and we make fine art sculptures and virtual reality artworks, sold NFT style. We work with lots of different artists translating their traditional art into digital works. I love my job. And I'm also a freelance artist, and I do my own designs. You can go to ryankittleson.com, see some of my original work, as well as some of my other freelance work. So yeah, I work from home. This is my home office. So I just want to look at this kind of in silhouette and just see, if it looks awkward from any particular angles, and just try to like tweak that out a little bit. So the question is, did I apply for that job or did the company seek me out? The company found me. It's based in New York City. I used to live in New York City. And so when Unique Board was looking for a ZBrush artist, digital sculptor, the owner of the company talked to people in the New York City, like 3D printing, digital sculpture world, and it was lucky enough that he talked to some people who knew me and got us connected. So definitely never underestimate the power of talking to people, going out, getting involved with your community, getting involved with people who are doing this type of stuff, getting involved with people who work in tangential industries, right? So I'm a ZBrush artist, but like it's good to know people who are in the fine art world, people in the 3D printing world, people in engineering world, people in all kinds of different worlds that can overlap with what you're doing. I think sometimes a lot of people, they want to work in games or they want to work in movies, and so they only talk to people in games, they only talk to people in movies. And actually there's like a lot of other things out there. And if you just focus on one or the other, especially if you're just starting out and nobody knows you and you don't really have much of a portfolio, you're kind of limiting yourself. So one thing I recommend is like just find stuff that you like to do and get it out there, and then just start talking to all kinds of other people who are doing stuff that might be related to what you want to do, and just see what your options are. Kilderon. So you just search my name on in Google, and then you'll find my YouTube, you'll find my Instagram, my website, LinkedIn, everything. There's a question, what 3D packages do I use besides ZBrush? I use Maya a little bit, mostly for like laying out UVs, because laying out UVs in ZBrush, unless you're doing just a bare bones, basic, simple stuff, is no bueno. All right, so the shape of this, I'm pretty happy. There's probably a little bit of more tweaking I'll do to it eventually, but I kind of like how it looks right now. So let's even out any weirdness that was introduced by my tweaking of it. So I'm just gonna smooth the entire thing. And then I'll just thicken it to the whole thing is the same thickness as the minimum thickness that I want. Thanks. It's kind of hard to read your username. Equity play. Thanks for that comment there. I don't know if I'm a master, but I like what I do. Put a lot of time into it. Tennis Love. Yeah, I guess if I am on ZBrush Live, I've definitely made something of my life. I guess my mom can finally be proud of me. How long have I been doing graphics? Uh, since I was a little kid, honestly. We had a simple computer when I was a kid growing up, and I would make graphics on that, being like 6, 7, 8 years old. Yeah, the question was I using masked scale? Yeah, I inflated basically. I masked off parts I didn't want to affect and then used inflate. Don't eat the beautiful crayons art with them. Well, I mean, you can eat them too. Just get more crayons. All right, let me save this before I crash anything. All right, I'm liking this this quite a bit. All right, so now let's go ahead and do this sort of reverse of how I originally tried to do it. Now let's try to get in these black ridge things that are going on here. So for this, so this is actually the curve multi-tube that I use. It's already 8-sided, and there's 8 black ridges. So all I want to do now is insert some extra edge loops that are between each of these. Multiple, let's see, specified resolution. Set this to 5. Boom. Hey, Sam Media. The question, why am I sculpting something so strange? Well, it's because I didn't want to sculpt something so normal. Oh, this is weird. The Z modeler brush isn't letting me select mask for edges. I can select anything else except mask. That's weird. I never had that happen before. Oh well, I'll just use the. I have a hotkey for masking the edge, the border of any mesh. Can I sculpt Jeff Goldblum? Yeah, actually, I love Jeff Goldblum, so I will definitely put him in the list of things to sculpt next. I do not have a Twitch channel. You can follow me on YouTube. That's where I put most stuff, is on YouTube. Sam Media, if you just search Ryan Kittleson in Google, you'll find my YouTube, my website, everything you want to find. Akshay Parikh, clickbait title. Well, okay, so it's part of this character here. So Sam Media, I stream it once a week with Pixologic. Every once in a while I kind of do my own stream on YouTube, but not very often. Hey, thanks for that, Akshay. You got it, Sam Media. I have applied to enter the sculpt off. I have not heard yet back if I'm in or not. McBobble, you to enter if the theme is sad, Mr. Potato Head. Oh, that's sad. Why not happy, Mr. Potato Head? So actually, it says he struggles with proportions while creating proxy face. Yeah, I mean, proportions are one of those things that you either have to internalize through lots of practice, or you have to use like reference images. Using either way, eventually you'll want to get to the point where it's internalized. But yeah, I mean, you just gotta jump in and make it happen. You know, if you got to take measurements, if you got to like use image planes, keep practicing. All right, I like the shape of the tail. I like how it's looking right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and extract out these shapes here. Actually, before I get too far ahead on that, I want to bring down, let's see, this is like slightly too high up. If you don't enjoy endless tweaking, maybe the life of a digital artist is not for you. It's not actually endless. Sometimes you will eventually just pass out in front of your computer late at night. That's an end, right? Hey there, WVXII. Thanks for that. Yeah, glad the Rhinestool is helpful. Favorite Jeff Goldblum movie? Oh man, The Fly is really good. It's so disturbing though. It's actually difficult to watch sometimes. Fly is really good. Jurassic Park might be my favorite Jeff Goldblum movie. Although, what was it? Thor Ragnarok? Jeff Goldblum's character in Thor Ragnarok was the whole reason to watch that movie. Okay, I think I finally got this tail thing in a place where I'm pretty happy with it. There's a couple of tweaks I will make eventually. Some of the shapes up here are a little awkward when it smooths out, but I can definitely, that'd be easy enough to address later. All right, so what I'm going to do next is make this little bit on the end of the tail. Let's see, I've actually got a higher resolution version of this. Just took a photo from the book. I actually have the book of where this art is. All right, have a good one. Is my love's Dora, I think. All right, have a good one. Thanks a lot. All right, I'm going to use Stager for this new feature in ZBrush. Just going to make a sphere, put it in the center of the world. And let's see, let's turn on symmetry in both X and Z. Hmm. That is actually a really good observation, actually, that this object is three-sided. And initially I was like, oh no, it's just like one sort of flower petal on each side, and then this sort of like center thing that contains like little grapes or something. But actually, that's a really good observation, and I'm going to go with that because the head is three-sided. So why not make this tail thing three-sided? So good job on that. I'm going to use Arraymesh just the same as I did for the heads. Right about there looks good. I know, it's like that Bugs Bunny cartoon where he gets in the airplane and looks at the controls of the airplane. It's like a wall of buttons. You're gonna buy me a green screen and a green hat. Nice. Why do all major AAA games use ZBrush? Well, it's because ZBrush is the industry standard tool, that's why. Yeah, in a certain sense, it's basically the tool that gets the job done. Working in a game studio, you got to get the job done, and ZBrush is definitely able to get the job done. There's all kinds of different softwares, that you could use to make games, but ZBrush definitely offers a lot of advantages. So the question from Yokasha, I am working on this character. Here's a question about how long I've been doing 3D animation or 3D modeling. I've been doing 3D modeling. First time I started doing it was in like 1997, 1998. But I've been doing it regularly since like 2004. Been doing it professionally since 2006. I do animation occasionally, not a whole lot. Every once in a while, though, I'll get into it. So Cameron, I'm just showing one of my monitors, the monitor where my work is. On my other monitors, I got my UI. I made that gizmo myself. You can get it if you get Ryan's Tools, my plugin. If you get the pro version, that is. Yeah, Santiago, you might need to get the pro version, the $20 version. I'm not sure which version you got, but there's like some extras that come with it, and you can get the gizmo that way. So Arson Art asks how I mask by Polygroup. If you hold down Control and Shift when you click on something, you can select by Polygroup, and if you hold Control and click in an open space, it'll mask whatever's selected, and then Control Shift click in an open space, it brings back the rest. And that way I can go around selecting by polygroup. Oh no, ZBrush just crashed. And I just lost a lot of work. Thanks for joining me, everybody. Glad I got some people here. Oh no, sad face. I don't think it saved very much. I did save it. Let's see what I can salvage here. I might have to recreate that whole... I think I saved it once I got the tail done, but before I put the end cap on the tail. The last save was at 9:32, almost an hour ago. Oh my goodness. Yep, I'm gonna have to redo a lot of work. Yep, basically gonna redo all this. So I think I'll redo this. I'm not gonna make you guys watch me redo it, but between now and the next stream, I'm going to redo this work so I can pick it back up. Yeah, it looks like no quick save was recorded, so oh, that's disappointing. Anyway, this happens often. ZBrush is known to crash, and yeah, there's an automatic quick save thing, but it didn't catch it. But this happens often. As a 3D artist, this is like the classic thing that always happens. So, and whenever it happens, it's always a bummer. But every time I recreate something, I go like 5 times as fast because I'm like, okay, I know every step I took, and I knew the dead ends. So next time I go and do it, it's going to go so much faster. But I'm not going to make you guys watch me redo it. So before the next stream, I'll have that stuff done. So let me work on something completely different then. I've only got like 10 minutes left, but the concept art has these like teeth, claw, gum things. So I'm going to work on this in the last 10 minutes I've got here. All right, it's 3 minutes to go to the end of the chat. I'm pretty bummed about losing all that work, you guys. So I'm just gonna call it right here, right now, and I'm gonna go sulk in the corner and cry a little bit. Thanks everybody for joining me on this live stream, and next week I'm gonna pick it up with everything I lost done. I'm gonna do that, and then we're gonna start putting it together and like putting the finishing touches on it. I think next week might be the final stream on this character, and we'll call it done. And then we'll move on to maybe Jeff Goldblum. Thanks so much, everybody. Thanks for joining. I'm gonna sign off, and yeah, I think Shane Olson is coming up in half an hour, so stick around for that. Always something cool from him. All right, everybody, have a good day.